Should you move to Cape Coral in 2023? Pros and cons of living in paradise. Yes, you got it right. The Floridian city of Cape Coral does feel like paradise. In this video, I will share with you my personal experience of living in Cape Coral, along with some useful facts including the house hunting, cost of living, house maintenance and renovation, what the best things to do here, and other good stuff. I have to admit, I enjoyed preparing this video as it has the dreamiest footage. Stay tuned, paradise is coming to you. Here in Florida, I've owned 3 properties. The first was a condo in Boynton Beach. The second was a 50-year-old house in Hollywood. It's a small town between Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And for a year now, I have lived in a house in Cape Coral. So let's assume that you all know what living in Florida is all about. It's endless summer, right? Living is easy. Historically, Florida's West Coast median prices have been always lower than those of the East Coast, primarily because there are less businesses, but since a lot of jobs turned remote, the West Coast of Florida, with its white sandy beaches and calmer ocean shores, became a very desirable relocation destination, and the prices are slowly but steadily catching up. So if you have been considering buying real estate in Cape Coral, especially if you are looking for a great waterfront location, this could be the best time to do so while you still can find a lot or a great reasonably priced property. So how does Cape Coral compare to the state averages? Let's see if we can find a pro to every con of living in this beautiful city. Location, location, location. Cape Coral is located on the west coast of Florida, near Fort Myers, but it's not located very conveniently. The very first downside of living in Cape Coral is the balance between the cost of living and distance to your workspace. The fact is that Cape Coral hosts primarily privately owned residences, most of which are relatively new builds and not necessarily extremely cheap. So unless you are retired with a good chunk of money, are in medical field or own other successful local business, you will most likely need to drive to the nearby Fort Myers for work, because there are not too many high-paying jobs in the city of Cape Coral itself. And if you have to drive for work, you will need to cross one of the 3 Cape Coral bridges, and each trip will cost you. But this also may be beneficial, because this is literally the best place for those who don't have to go to work every day for various reasons, like working remotely. I can literally see a sparkling canal in my pool waterfall as I am working on the script for this video. Isn't that a dream? The benefit of Cape Coral being a bit harder to reach is also in relatively low flow of younger vacationers. Given there are still a lot of people coming to visit Cape Coral during the popular season, November through March, but it's not, so to speak, a party city, so the area doesn't really attract spring breakers, but mostly families, mid-aged singles, and other couples. That means that vacation season doesn't bring in that much crime or noise. This appeals to those visitors and locals who like quiet and relaxed life. The crime level here is really low. Cape Coral's total crime rate is 49% lower than the national average and 44% lower than the average in the state of Florida. I'll take that. Besides, if you do cross the bridge every day for work, the city of Cape Coral has a reduced bridge toll plan. Traffic is still a problem, just for your information. Things to do. This brings me to another downside of the city and the area in general. There's literally no large-scale entertainment, partially because there are no really large-sized venues in Cape Coral itself. There are some local theater and music performances in Fort Myers, but for bigger events you'll need to drive about an hour to Naples, 2 hours to Tampa. Miami's 3-hour drive away. Don't get me wrong, if you want to, you can always find a party or manage one. But in general, especially compared to Southeast Florida, there's not much to do here. This especially affects younger people, as Cape Coral is definitely not catering any excitement for them. So really the best entertainment in Cape Coral is fine dining, seeing movies, going to the beach, kayaking, bicycling, boating, and getting lazy around the pool. Wait, was that a con? Sign me up. Yes, true, fine dining may be the best thing to do in the area, but man, it's good in Cape Coral. I lived in the Bay Area, in Los Angeles, Orange County, Fort Lauderdale, visited Portland, New York, and many other wonderful cities around the world. Fine dining in Cape Coral is some of the best I've ever seen. Restaurant owners really take pride in the food they serve to their guests, and the variety of cuisines is wide as well. There are American, Italian, Mexican, Cuban, even Peruvian restaurants, local boutique breweries with all-American food like hijacked, and of course a local gem lobster lady, the seafood market and restaurant with 12-page menu, weekly and daily specials, fresh lobsters that you can pick yourself while they are still in the water, and incredibly friendly staff. You should visit Cape Coral just for its fine dining. Fort Myers is also a great place if you are looking for an awesome meal. If you own a boat, Cape Coral is a place to be, with its endless canals and marinas and exit to the Gulf of Mexico. Fun fact, Cape Coral has more canals than Venice. Going to see movies as one of the few entertainment options sounds a bit pathetic, but the local movie theater Marquee Cinemas has assigned recliner seating, and on Tuesday the theater has fixed low ticket prices on all current shows for everyone. Right, there's not much major entertainment in town, but there are many street concerts for every taste that are frequent, completely free, and surprisingly very high quality. There are multiple wonderful bike trails in Cape Coral, and it's very pleasant to ride around. For families with kids, there are good public schools, and they have really good extracurricular activities. On Saturdays in downtown Cape Coral, local small businesses present their goods at farmers market, and a small version of it is also held on Tuesday in another part of town. I also linked a video of a local real estate pro about things to do in Cape Coral in the description. He goes a little bit deeper into what to do here if you come to visit, although most of the things become a little mundane after you have lived here for a while. Should I worry about hurricanes? How about the weather though? Didn't the city just get devastated by Hurricane Ian? Oh well, yes it did. Cape Coral and Fort Myers and surrounding areas in the southwest Florida sustained a lot of damage during Hurricane Ian. Many houses in the very south of Cape Coral, below the Cape Coral Parkway, got a lot of flood damage. All over the area you can see tarped roofs and broken fences. People in Cape Coral lost docks, lanai cages, boats. A lot of trees and plants were torn out of the ground, including my 20-year-old mango tree that gave the sweetest mangoes. It took 2 weeks for the city to complete the repair of power lines. As someone who stayed in through the hurricane, I have to admit it was scary. Cape Coral has more than 400 miles of waterways, including 156 miles of freshwater canals connecting dozens of lakes, 222 miles of saltwater access canals, and 31 miles of shoreline with boat or access to the Gulf of Mexico. The proximity to big waters definitely increases the risk of flooding. A lot of houses on Cape Coral are located in an A-flood zone that requires additional insurance. So on the flip side, although the very south, older part of Cape did get a lot of water damage, the newer buildings, including those located right on canals, sustained minimal to no water damage from flooding. Even though water came in very close and the tide was high, most of people in newer Cape Coral had no water inside their houses. It is partially due to the current building codes that require enough elevation. The city canal system also helped by allowing water to flow out back to the Gulf of Mexico. Definitely, as you drive around, you can still see a lot of devastation. Damaged roofs, crooked boat lifts, even boats sitting in the middle of road medians or in people's front yards, piles of trash and destroyed trees. But I have to admit that city services work very well on removing the trash and restoring all city structures, roads, and communications. During the Hurricane Ian, that was by the way a few times larger than Andrew, Cape Coral got sort of protected by the chain of islands that wraps around the cape from the west. Pine Island, Sanibel, and Captiva, which unfortunately took the big hit and experienced a lot of damage in the flooding, especially Matlacha, that got destroyed almost completely. But in my opinion, Cape Coral sustained relatively small damage considering the power of Ian and the city's extensive canal network. Some people I know who live in an A-flood zone decided to cancel their flood insurance as, in their opinion, if we survived Ian, flood is not a threat to their houses. Another fact, it's been 13 years since the last major hurricane. Storms as large and strong as Ian don't happen too often. Locals don't expect any devastating events like Ian anytime soon. However, of course, I would not rely on hopes. Studies show that the climate is changing. Weather pros say that as the Caribbean waters warm up, although the amount of the storms will decrease, those that form will intensify dramatically, and their impact when they reach the land will be much stronger than of those in the past. So it looks like we may not get another Ian the very next season, and summer storms in Florida may decrease in number. We will get them bigger and more impactful altogether. So you make your own decision on that. How about healthcare and the rest of the infrastructure? Well, the city is developing extremely fast, and the majority of people who are coming to find a home in Cape Coral are mid-aged or seniors, the very people who need more healthcare in general. So the population is growing as people are discovering the gem of Cape Coral, and unfortunately healthcare is not catching up. It's not easy to get a special care physician appointment. They are all booked for weeks, if not for months, and the power outage during the end didn't help the situation as many appointments got moved or cancelled. However, if you get aligned with the local healthcare, you will get high-quality service. You can always get as much help as you can with telemedicine, and if you plan all your major checkups and procedures ahead of time, you will be alright. Also, I have faith that with the expansion of the city population, we will see more healthcare offices opening in town very soon. As for the rest of the infrastructure, it's expected to be growing as well. Currently, there are no Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, or Costco in town, but public supermarket or Target are within close reach, and there is Sam's Club in the area. The closest Trader Joe and Costco are right across the bridge in Fort Myers. There are also a few shopping plazas with major stores such as Walmart, Home Goods, Burlington's, Bath & Beyond, Ulta, Home Depot, Lowe's, and even a cute little European market. Also, surprisingly, services like hair and nail care are very high quality in town, and the prices are more or less reasonable. The closest 24-hour fitness gym is in Fort Myers. I would say it's a bit far, but there are private local gyms all around town within close reach, and a very good, big and brand new Crunch gym that has all you need for strength, cardio, and high-intensity training, and also water massage chairs. And the most expensive plan is around $30 a month. There are also boxing gyms and the great Target range in town. Okay, how much? Now let's talk money. The median listing home price in Cape Coral in February 2023 was $450,000, trending up 12.5% year over year. That is after Hurricane Ian, which makes the cost of real estate in the city fairly expensive. In February, the market was considered balanced. Now, please mind that there is a lot of housing in Cape Coral that's below this price point, and there are lots of houses on the water that cost close to $1 million and more, and there are even much more expensive ones. I do believe Cape Coral is for people who love being on the water or close to open water, but not exactly right on the ocean shore. It's for those who love it quiet and don't need a lot of things happening around them, but to whom a long drive or even a flight to an event is not a big deal. The city is a hidden gem, sort of power broker of Florida. Here are some numbers. I'm presenting to you what I pay for my property. I am sure you can find cheaper services, but I personally prefer to work with privately owned companies where the owners are directly involved in the service. My homeowner's insurance is now running about $3,200 a year. Flood insurance that is mandatory if your house is in a flood zone and you have a mortgage has skyrocketed and more than doubled compared to 2022. I'm currently paying about $3,400 yearly for flood insurance. Pest control will run you around $100 every 3 months. It includes free treatment if you see activity in between services. Lawn pest care and fertilization is about $125 bi-monthly. Lawn mowing service is about $100, but it depends on the size of your lot. It includes flower beds, weed control, and edging. Pool service, weekly pool cleaning, monthly filter cleaning, chemicals included, $90 to $100 per month. My water and sewer are connected to the city resources. I pay around $65 a month for water supply, sewer, and trash removal. The electricity subject is interesting because Cape Coral has its own electrical co-op, LCSC, that has built and is managing the power infrastructure. Just to compare, when I lived in a 1,700 square feet house in Hollywood, my power bill was around $50. Here in Cape Coral, after installing a brand new AC, my power bill is is around $200, considering that I like to keep my house temp between 75 and 80 degree Fahrenheit. This house is also bigger, 2,300 square feet, and I use quite a lot of night lights, and I also have a non-heated pool with a waterfall that takes power. If you like it really cold, I heard that some Cape Coral residents pay between $500 and $700 per month in electricity alone. You can of course also solarize a lot, if not all of your power, but keep in mind that it's pretty expensive, do not believe free solar programs, and doesn't take you off grid. So in case of power outages, you will still need power to connect to the solar network, unless of course you build your own custom solar system. Something to consider. Other charges, such as internet, are less substantial, and you can get Xfinity for a year for $20 a month, and then it will run about $45 to $50. Now, some of the useful data on Cape Coral. Cape Coral is the third largest city in Florida, behind Jacksonville and Tampa. It's the largest city in Southwest Florida, the most populous city between Miami and Tampa, with over 167,000 full-time residents, and the current metro area population in 2022 of 910,000 people. It is currently considered that Cape Coral is only 45% developed, and its built-out population will be more than 400,000. It is growing, folks, and you can still squeeze in with the reasonable house prices while you can. Cape Coral is mostly a Caucasian and Republican city. Median age of residents is 43. As much as my heart hurts about the Hurricane Ian devastation, I have to admit that the house prices didn't go down that much. That means that this area is still in high demand, although there are a lot of people who can no longer afford living here. Some were underinsured and can't fix the houses that are unlivable now. Some just decided that's too expensive and risky to own a property here, so the market is now a bit more favorable to buyers. And even with overall high prices, you can find a great deal for a fixer-upper or land with a house that needs to be demolished. If you decide to buy a fixer-upper, here are a few things to consider. Even before Hurricane Ian, it was not easy to find reliable contractors to renovate a property. Now, after the hurricane, and considering the immense amount of new construction in the city, it's very hard to find fast, reliable, and reasonable contractor services. They are all backed up for months. So if you want to buy and are thinking of buying a fixer-upper or a house damaged by flooding, mind that it may take extended time or more money for you to get your house to the state you want. I'm not saying it will be impossible, but it will take either time, extra money, or both. If you're buying a house with a tile roof, please note that the roof tile is on back order and you will not get it done for a while. If you're buying a house in a flood zone, consider the insurance price. If you plan to get a mortgage and are on a budget. If you're planning on getting any kind of reno jobs done in your house, make sure you don't rely just on ads. Try to get local references from people who have used the contractor services before. Check out those Google ratings. If you don't know the area, absolutely get a local agent who knows which areas of Cape Coral are better to live in. I found a local agent through Zillow, and he gave me great advice on where I should not be buying. I ended up in southwest of Cape Coral, which is considered the best area. It's a bit pricier, but I can't be happier with the neighborhood. It's quiet, my neighbors are awesome, there are 2 cops living across the street from me, there's a charter school 3 blocks from my house, so I know this area is safe. And last but not least, some time ago, Cape Coral introduced city services. It costs locals quite a lot to switch to city-provided water and sewer, so when you are buying a house, make sure that you check if the assessment for the connection was paid, as the balance will be your responsibility. So now, after trying to be as little biased as possible, here are my personal notes and perceptions of living in Cape Coral. Most of my neighbors are winter birds, and when they are here, we rarely interact, although they are all very sweet people. I have made a couple friends, however, I feel like overall I'm very lonely here, since I moved in while still being single. So I think the city is best for couples or families, and if you're single moving here hoping to meet new people, it may be difficult. I don't really need much entertainment, but I do want to go see a nice concert or a performance once in a while, which I did enjoy quite a lot in LA. But on the other hand, LA is a cultural babble. alone, so definitely these two cities are not comparable. I'm also into improv comedy, but there are no comedy theaters close by. I can't complain though, my life is beautiful. I do wish I could meet more people, but I'm shy and pretty introverted, so for now I stick with a newly discovered YouTube video production passion. Speaking of which, I hope you liked this video, and if so, please give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment. I really would like to know how I'm doing. Also, if you have any questions about Cape Coral, please don't hesitate to ask. But I hope I inspired you about this city and we may become neighbors soon. For now, see you later!